Thank you. Good morning. Mr. President, Madam Vice President, Mr. Secretary, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests and fellow veterans, I am honored and humbled to stand on these hallowed grounds to address you for the 70th Annual National Veterans Day Observance. I'd like to begin with a moment of silence to honor all those whose lives were cut short defending our nation, and let us pause and reflect on their families who will always carry the burdens resulting from their tragic loss. Across this great country, throughout the world, in similar gatherings as this one, Americans will pause today and remember the countless contributions of our nation's veterans and the many long struggles of maintaining our freedom, to honor our brave fighting men and women who for more than 249 years have underwritten our freedom by their duty, honor, and selfless service. We recognize that all veterans have given something of themselves for our country. Some have given all, laying down their lives to defend the freedoms we hold so dear. Americans have always fought for our freedoms, dating back to our nation's founding in the Revolutionary War. The history of Arlington National Cemetery is a testament to the great cost that the concepts of liberty and justice become reality, and only with great sacrifice will freedom prevail. For all the veterans, regardless of their service and the era of which they served, they have paid the price time and time again. They have defended America through the best of times and through the worst of times, and they have performed their duties tirelessly. Each page of America's history is etched with the sacrifice of our armed forces. On each page, the legacy of their accomplishments is written. As much as we owe a debt to veterans of past conflicts, we owe a tremendous amount to today's generation of veterans. As I stand here today, America's best and brightest are deployed to all corners of the world in defense of the freedoms our veterans have earned us. We pray for their safe return and stand ready to support their families while they are away. For too many Americans, today's just another day, right? It's a day off from work, it's a sale at the store, it's recognized as just another holiday. But nevertheless, we have the opportunity to express our gratitude to the men and women who have done their duty to our nation through their military service. Every American, no matter where they live, no matter what they do, reaps the benefits of their service. To paraphrase the great Thomas Paine, those who expect to reap the blessings of freedom must undergo the fatigue of supporting it. So I stand in this solemn place. We must reaffirm our pledge to remember and honor the sacrifices of all veterans, to advocate for their well-being, to ensure they receive their benefits without having to pay more than the service they've already paid for. Let us remember the principles upon which this great nation was founded: liberty, justice, and the pursuit of happiness. Let us remember our responsibilities to protect and preserve these ideals, just as our veterans have done with their unwavering dedication. And always remember, the price of freedom isn't free. You know, I look in the audience to the young people out there. Some of you are going to raise your hand and join the tens of thousands every year and wear our nation's uniform. You'll defend our way of life, and you'll defend the freedoms that we so cherish. Thank you for allowing me to speak to you and share this special day with you. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for showing the support to our heroes, past and present. It is now a privilege to welcome the Secretary of Veterans Affairs, the Honorable Dennis McDonough.
Dwayne, thank you very much for that introduction, for your leadership, and for a special thanks to the VFW for hosting today's ceremony. Mr. President, Dr. Biden, as a military family and surviving parents of Iraq War combat veteran Major Bo Biden, you have brought to the White House unrelenting and forcefully demanding advocacy for veterans and their families. Madam Vice President, Mr. Imhoff, Chairman and Marine veteran Mike Bost, Ranking Member Mark Takano, most importantly to all the veterans here today, your families, caregivers, and survivors, good morning. It's fitting that we gather here at Arlington National Cemetery on these hallowed rolling hills overlooking our nation's capital. With one sweep of the eye, we see the cost of freedom. In the rows of marble headstones stretching into the distance, the final resting places of our nation's heroes, and in the precision of the sentinels guarding the tomb of the unknown soldier. And in today's ceremony, we see our nation's colors flying alongside the flags of our veteran service organizations. I'm always struck by and moved by the veterans carrying these flags, a parade of patriotism marked with the same pride and precision as when they wore the uniform. We are here to honor them. We are here to honor you, the unique strength of America. You reflect the exceptional diversity of our country, coming from all backgrounds, ages, faiths, colors, and creeds. You represent, as the President reminds us, the very soul of America. And you continue to serve this country to defend and strengthen the Constitution and our democracy long after you've stood your final formation. In fact, vets are more civically engaged by nearly every measure. More likely to vote, more likely to volunteer your time, to donate to charities, to be involved in your communities. You're our neighbors, our friends. You're our pastors, cops, firefighters, teachers, business leaders, local leaders, coaches, loved ones. There are vets whose names we know, and others whose names we may not, but whose impact resonates in the heart of every community across this great country, which is stronger because of you. I'm thinking of veterans like David Muniz, a Navy vet from Grand Junction, Colorado, one of VA's more than 1,300 peer specialists trained to help guide vets through recovery from substance use or mental health challenges. David uses his personal experiences to inspire hope as a role model for his fellow vets. And Tammy Barlett of Crownsville, Maryland, who patrolled the Persian Gulf during her time in the Coast Guard. Tammy found a passion in veteran advocacy when she came home. Today, she's a public health expert and VSO leader, supporting veterans in higher education. Veterans like Daniel Martin, an Army vet out of Los Angeles, California. After the military, Daniel struggled until he heard about VA's vocational rehabilitation compensated work therapy program, which helped turn his life around. Today, Daniel's the lead carpenter at West Los Angeles VA and a mentor in the very same VA programs that offered him a second chance. Or Cleet Cashman, a 94-year-old Marine out of Dubuque, Iowa. Cleet fought on the front lines during the Battle of Bunker Hill in the Korean War. He lost his best friend in that battle, and Cleet was evacuated after being hit by shrapnel. I met Cleet last week at a meeting in the Dubuque VA clinic. He came to the meeting, he said, because he wanted to be part of any group that's figuring out how to help other veterans. As is the case with every Marine vet, he wasn't there for himself, he came for others. There's just too much hate, he said, and we need more love. And Tahina Montoya, our MC for today's event. Tahina has two jobs. One as an Air Force reservist, one serving veterans at VA. proudly serving her country in and out of uniform every single day. Veterans helping veterans, always there for each other, always thinking of their country, never leaving behind a fellow vet, and continuing to strengthen our democracy. There's nothing better. It speaks to your sense of duty, your devotion to one another, and to our country. And at VA, we will stop at nothing to serve you every bit as well as you have served us, as you continue to serve us, each of us. As President Biden reminded us in his inaugural address, it is our responsibility to those heroes who lie in eternal rest here at Arlington, and to those veterans still living, to ensure that democracy and hope, truth and justice does not die on our watch, but thrives. Mr. President, veterans are answering that call, and we are forever in their debt. With that, it is now my great honor and distinct privilege to introduce the 46th President of the United States of America, Joe Biden.
Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. My fellow Americans, on this day, 105 years ago, the Great War ended. As news of peace reached the front lines of France, a young American soldier sent a letter home to his parents in Missouri. And I'll quote it. He said, "If only you all could see," he wrote. "Fighting stopped, lanterns shine in every window and door," end of quote. For those who had fought in this war, unlike any war the world had ever seen before, it was a symbol, a reminder that as long as those who stand for freedom, light will always triumph over darkness. My fellow Americans, Jill, Vice President Harris, Second General Manhoff, Secretary McDonough, Secretary Buttigieg is here, Secretary Mayorkas, Acting Secretary Sue, Director Haynes, Deputy Secretary Hicks, Vice Chairman Grady, and most importantly, our veterans and service members, and equally as important, their families. We come together today to once again honor the generations of Americans who stood on the front lines of freedom, to once again bear witness to the great deeds of a noble few who risked everything, to give us a better future. Those who have always kept the light of liberty shining bright across the world. Our veterans, that's not hyperbole, our veterans. Every year, on the 11th hour of the 11th day of the 11th month, we gather in this sanctuary of sacrifice to pause, to pay tribute to these patriots of the greatest fighting force in the history of the world. As Commander-in-Chief, I have no higher honor. As a father of a son who served, I have no greater privilege. Like it's for so many of you, Veterans Day is personal to Jill and me. On this day, I can still see my son, the Attorney General of Delaware, standing ramrod straight as I pinned his bars on him the day he joined the Army National Guard in Delaware. I can still feel the overwhelming pride in Major Bo Biden receiving the Bronze Star, the Legion of Merit, and the Delaware Conspicuous Service Cross. We miss him. I can still hear my wife, Jill, every morning she got up to go to school to teach, praying over a cup of coffee during the year he was deployed to Iraq, and 6 months before that he was a civilian overseas. And like it was yesterday, I can still hear what he told me when he signed up to serve. I said, "Bo, why?" It's God's truth. He said, "Dad, it's my duty." Duty. That was the code my son lived by and the creed that millions of veterans have followed. From Belleau Woods to Baghdad, to Gettysburg, to Guadalcanal, from Korea to Kandahar, and beyond. Each one linked in a chain of honor that stretches back to our founding days. Each one bound by a sacred oath to support and defend. Not a place, not a person, not a president, but an idea, to defend an idea unlike any other in human history. That idea is the United States of America. We're the only nation in the world that's built on an idea. Every other nation is based on things like geography, ethnicity, religion. But we're the only nation built on the idea that we are all created equal, endowed by our Creator with certain inalienable rights. We haven't always lived up to it, but because our veterans, because of you, we've never walked away from it. For throughout the annals of history, whenever and wherever the force of darkness has sought to extinguish the light of liberty, American veterans have been holding the lantern as high as they can for all of us. They were there when the determined band of patriots sparked a revolution, delivering a nation where everyone is endowed with certain inalienable rights. They were there when less than a century later, they gave our nation a new birth of freedom. They were there when the forces of fascism brought the fight to the trenches of Europe and the bloody beaches of Normandy. They were there when called upon to face the oppression in the frozen rice paddies of Korea and the sweltering jungles of Vietnam. And they were there when darkness came to our shores, signing up for tour after tour after tour to keep our democracy safe and secure these last 2 decades. Folks, as a nation, we owe them. We owe you, not just for keeping the flame of freedom burning during the darkest of moments, but for serving our communities even after they hang up their uniforms, for inspiring the next generation to serve. We see this at barracks and bases all across America, where young women and men continue to risk their own safety for the safety of their fellow Americans. We see it around the world in all the countries I've been in when our troops continue to stand with our allies against the forces of tyranny and terrorism. To this day, wherever the forces of darkness have sought to extinguish the light of liberty, American troops are there. And right by their side are their families. As English poet John Milton wrote, "They also serve who only stand and wait. They also serve who only stand and wait." Our veterans are the steel spine of this nation, and their families, like so many of you, are the courageous heart. Most Americans will never see the sacrifices that you as family members also make. They'll never see those holidays, those birthdays made special, even with the empty seat at the dinner table. They'll never see all the packing and unpacking, readying the family to make another move, needing to move to a new school, a new job for the spouse. They'll never see all those nights spent waiting for word from a loved one deployed overseas because you're not sure. Too often, your sacrifices go without thanks or without acknowledgement. But we must remember, only 1% of our society today protects 99% of us. 1%. We owe them. We owe you. So to all the families across our nation, to all those who are grieving the loss of a loved one who wore the uniform. To all those with loved ones still missing or unaccounted for, I want to say to you, we see you, we stand with you, and we will not forget. And just as you have kept the ultimate faith to our country, we will keep the faith with you. As a nation, I've said many times, we have many obligations, but we only have one truly sacred obligation: to prepare those we send into harm's way and to care for them and their families when they return home. It's not an obligation based on party or politics, but on a promise that unites us all. And together, over the last 3 years, we've worked to make good on that promise, passing more than 30 bipartisan laws to support our veterans and their families, caregivers, and survivors. That includes the PACT Act, one of the most significant laws ever to help millions of veterans who are exposed to toxins and burn pits during their military service. Pits the size of football fields that incinerate it with the wastes of war, tires, chemicals, jet fuel, and so much more. Too many of our nation's warriors have served only to return home to suffer from permanent effects of this poisonous smoke. Too many have died. In the 15 months since we wrote and signed the PACT Act, 500,000 veterans and their surviving family members have already started receiving benefits. But far, far too many are still not getting what they need, the care they deserve. That's why I'm proud to announce that any toxin-exposed veteran who served in any conflict outlined in the PACT Act will be able to enroll in VA health care starting March of next year. We're not stopping there. The past year, we've delivered more benefits, processed more claims than ever before in VA history. We've expanded resources to end veterans' homelessness, end veterans' poverty, end the silent scourge of suicide, which is taking more veterans than war is. We're launching a new initiative to protect veterans from scams, because no one should be defrauded by those they defended, for God's sake. Through Jill's work and others in joining forces, we've also announced the most comprehensive set of actions in our nation's history to strengthen economic opportunity for military and veteran spouses, caregivers, and survivors. And this year, as we marked 75 years of a desegregated military, 75 years of women's integration in the military, and 50 years of an all-volunteer force, we've doubled down on our efforts to ensure all troops, all veterans, get the services they need, and that no veteran is denied the honor they earn because they were discharged for being LGBTQ+. It matters. It matters to the vet from the state of Delaware, who after years of being homeless, after years of living in a tent made of his own uniforms, finally got a roof over his head. It matters to the vet in Arkansas, who after answering duty's call on 9/11, after dealing with debilitating post-traumatic stress for years, finally is able to receive tailored mental health care that has changed his life. It matters to the vet from Utah, after flying mission after mission over burn pits in Iraq, after being diagnosed with cancer at just 23 years of age, is finally receiving full coverage for his treatment. It matters. It matters to the vet from Florida who is being exposed to Agent Orange in Vietnam after applying and being rejected for benefits 4 times. Finally, as he wrote to me in a letter, quote, is able to get by a little easier now. Today, we gather not only to honor these stories, but the stories of all veterans. For it's a story of our nation at its best a nation that stands as one to forge a better future for all, a nation that faces down fear generation after generation, a nation that meets darkness with light again and again and again. No matter how high the cost, no matter how heavy the burden. Ladies and gentlemen, for nearly 250 years, the sacrifice of many of you sitting in front of me and behind me, and those who served, have kept our country free and our democracy strong. As that young soldier wrote more than a century ago after World War I ended, if you only could see, lanterns shine in every window and door. Today, we not only see that light of liberty, we live by it. And just like our forebears, it's on all of us together, to ask ourselves, what can we do? What must we do to keep that light burning? To keep it shining in every window and door for generations to come? I know we can. I know we will. Because as our veterans know best, we are the United States of America. And there's nothing beyond our capacity. Nothing beyond our capacity when we do it together. God bless you all. God bless our veterans. And may God protect our troops today and always. Thank you, and thank you for your service.